Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me on some very special tarmac here at the Pista di Fiorano, Ferrari's test track in Maranello, Italy, to take a first ever look at this, the new Ferrari 812 Competizione, which we can explore in detail. This is their latest introduction, the Versione Speciale of the front mid V12 platform, and we can go through all of it today, from the facts and figures like the 9,500 RPM redline, 830 horsepower, to also exploring the Aero, the design and the interior. We'll discuss the blade that you see running across the front bonnet, the livery of this car as well, the new vortex generators that are introduced over here towards the rear deck lid, that lip spoiler and the diffuser. There is plenty to talk about and explore today as we take a first ever look here in the hometown of Ferrari at the 812 Competizione. Just look at this. The new Ferrari 812 Competizione here on the tarmac at the famous Fiorano circuit, an exclusive opportunity to take in all of the details in person. It's involved some teleportation and plenty of tests to be out here in Italy to take a look at this car, and believe me, there is a lot to it that we will explore in full today. Like many new track-focused cars, the aerodynamics have a lot of intricacies which only really start to make sense when you're looking at them in person or going through in more detail as opposed to just looking at pictures. And that's what I want to share with you today. But this follows in some pretty special footsteps, the likes of the F12 TDF, the 599 GTO, and even from the 550 and the 575, the Barchetta and Super America, as well as the special model, the front-engine GT track-focused variant, the Versione Speciale, as it's called by Ferrari as the code name prior to being given the Competizione name tag. Now in this case, the Competizione is the Coupe, the fixed roof. There are 999 of them, all sold before reveal, but simultaneously Ferrari have also taken the wraps off the Competizione A, where A stands for aperta, the Italian word for open, which has a removable Targa roof panel that can be slotted away behind the seats in the boot space area as well. There will be 599 of those, so 1,598 cars in total of the Competizione, but mechanically both the same under the skin. There's a lot though to take in on this stunning example with the Giallo Modena painted stripe that runs all the way across the entirety of the top of the car, but significant reworkings around the front for cooling, for aerodynamics, for downforce, again around the side. Of course, this blade that runs all the way across the bonnet, almost like a boomerang. We'll take a look at how that works. And then towards the rear, the painted vortex generators that you have here, with the unusual option to have the painted stripe continuing all the way down the back, something you wouldn't normally see, with a mirror, or a camera I should say, operating for the mirror inside the car. Then at the back, this enlarged lip spoiler, the change around the tail lights, all of the openings again for Aero, and this gigantic diffuser that runs across with a thunderous set of sounds that comes out of those exhaust tailpipes mounted right around towards the side. There's a lot for us to take in, but let's go through in detail, starting from the front. Being the track variant of Ferrari's front mid V12 platform, it makes complete sense to be taking a look at the car here on the famous Pista di Fiorano, down the straight, where many a legendary Ferrari driver have had their hands behind the wheel and many incredible cars have been developed and tested. This has actually set a lap time of 1 minute and 20 seconds. That's 1.5 seconds faster than the 812 Superfast on which it's based. But Ferrari have such a strong history of these Grand Tourers, but also their motorsports successes, especially if you go back to the 1960s, and this is the latest in that line. If you start looking at the very front, you can tell instantly that this is fit for purpose. It means business. From the much larger openings for the cooling towards the engine, these intakes at the side with the carbon fiber surround that goes towards the cooling of the brakes, you've got additional openings and guidings for airflow, for aerodynamics, for cooling, for different channeling of air through the car, the lower carbon splitter, the way the bumpers stick out towards the side even further than the F12 TDF, again to help the airflow being guided around. If you come here, you can see the openings, how these curtains manage the air. There's also a front diffuser that lifts up towards the front end of the wheel wells to help with airflow being managed too, where here we've got the carbon fiber ceramics inside the exclusive wheel design for the Competizione. There's also the option to upgrade to carbon fiber wheels. Coming behind behind, you can see the openings again to help reduce the swelling air inside the wheel arches to escape out the side of the car and also interact with the blade up here, which we'll talk about in more detail when we check out the engine bay in a moment. It's been heavily reworked, lifted a little higher here to have this channel to guide air towards the lip spoiler at the rear. You can see the aggressive end of the side skirt as well, but the rear has been heavily redone. In fact, this project really began back here, starting with a complete redesign on how to make it more focused and have higher performance, and that begins right down here with the diffuser, which you'll notice runs the full width, effectively right from the outside of the car all the way across, as opposed to just the central piece that was worn by the 812 Superfast before. That's brought a few challenges, including the relocation and restyling of the exhaust system. Instead of the traditional twin tailpipes that the 812 Superfast had before, slightly more inboard and higher, it now has this new system with the squared pipe sitting right out at the sides of the diffuser, as you can see, with the coating surrounding for the heat. And I can tell you, this sounds incredible and I cannot wait to hear more of it. And then when you start to look underneath, you can see all of the different channels, the carbon blades that you have for guiding and managing the airflow that works its way all around. Now, to work in partnership with that diffuser, you have this enlarged lip that again runs the full width of the car, offering more downforce and also looking sportier in the process, the way it wraps around over the top of the circular tail lights and around towards the wheel arches. We're back here again, a design feature inspired from the F12 TDF. You might remember the louvres that it wore up on the C-pillars, in this case for more cooling, for reducing the swelling, but also you'll notice with the flaps here to again help with downforce, to help keep the car planted. And there's also a lot going on beneath the car in terms of vortexes, in terms of air channels, in terms of vanes to help guide the air through it. Now, this is actually a patented system by Ferrari, these vortex generators, which help with the air coming over the car, leaving the air through the center clean, but with the air over here to build the vortexes, to control the air and effectively to manage it and make the most of the lip to keep it planted to the ground, to give it that downforce at the rear. To come then and talk more about the blade, or the almost boomerang shape that you have of it running the full width across either side of the bonnet. I actually want to open it up, so we'll have a quick glimpse at the interior. We will go through this in a little bit more detail, but a few things have changed in here, including now having the H control for your automatic gearbox and plenty more carbon fiber and Alcantara. But to open up the engine bay, give a pull of this and we'll come round and I'll show you exactly what this looks like. The power plant that resides under this very large bonnet. He says if I can find the catch, give that a pull. And we've got the 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12, now up to 830 horsepower, from 800 horsepower in the 812 Superfast. Torque slightly down from 718 to 692, but the biggest thing is the increase in the rev limiter, taking it up from 8,900 RPM to an absolutely whopping 9,500. I can only begin to imagine exactly how that will sound. The result of that is a car that, despite being only rear-wheel drive, can do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour in just 2.8 seconds, 0 to 200 kilometers an hour or 124 in a mere 7.5, and onto a top speed in excess of 340 kilometers an hour, 211 miles per hour. In order to raise the rev limit all the way to 9,500, it's taken a rework of the engine, which is already oh so sweet in the 812 Superfast, but now with new pistons, titanium conrods, and a number of new physical components to help reinforce it, to take that additional power, and of course to bring what I imagine is going to be the most incredible of soundtracks, this power plant at 9,500 RPM. It also happens to look spectacular with all of the exposed carbon fibre that you can see around, the Ferrari chassis number plaque worn at the front, an absolute work of art. Now, to discuss a little bit more about the blade, you can see here how the openings work. This is open from the wheel arch to allow airflow to come out. There are also additional openings that you have at various stages here, which are to do with the cooling of the engine, while also helping with the downforce at the front. This again creates more vortexes and effectively helps keep the car planted down to the ground, while also giving it a completely unique and distinct look up front with the exposed carbon running across the full width. Now, to close this back down, it's very light, it has to be said, aluminium bonnet, but still very light regardless. Give this a press, click it into place, because we need to come and take a better look then at the interior. It starts here with lots of Alcantara and carbon fibre, as you'll you'll see throughout the cabin. The door cards have the full gloss carbon fibre inserts. You've got the Alcantara over the top rolls. Inside the car, we've got the sports bucket seat with a new bespoke finish with the squared quilting. We've also got the contrast stitch in yellow here to match with the Giallo Modena external accents, also around the dashboard as well. We've got the LED carbon fibre driver zone with the Manatino to control your different driving modes. You've got that H pattern in the centre. In fact, let me take a climb on board to take a seat in the 812 Competizione to show you a little bit more of this, and check out that rev counter. The yellow rev counter up to 9,500 RPM. Could you imagine what that would be like? But inside here again, dashboard, all Alcantara. We've got a strange view behind, in fact, because of course no rear window. Lots of carbon fibre, some storage space. We've got the luggage straps back there as well, but a very different kind of style. We've got the passenger display screen over here to bring up your media or other entertainment, or even driving data as well while you're on the road, but still practical. We've got cup holders. We've got the storage space here in the armrest with your Apple CarPlay and your USB port as well. And then this, the new H pattern style that's been brought in, as we've seen on the Roma and the SF90 Stradale, where you have reverse, automatic manual, and your launch control, akin to the gated manual gearboxes of old. This is the key, like on the 812 Superfast, and if I pop open the boot space, we can go and have a look at that in a moment too. But I do just want to turn on the ignition for a moment to take this in slightly. Wow. Up there, we've got the rear view, the camera. Oh, just turn off the radio. We've got the cameras looking backwards as opposed to being able to see the traditional way. This feels very exciting. Could you imagine what it would be like to take this for a full drive? What a special place. Let me go around though and show you the amount of storage, because it's still a fairly usable GT despite being so purposeful for the racetrack. This lifts up as opposed to being right to the boot lid as it was on the 812 Superfast. Inside there though, plenty of room to fit your luggage. You've got the carbon fibre underside of this with the same kind of design as the vortex generators that it has on the top. You've got the carbon fibre parcel shelf here, which is magnetised. You can lift that up depending how you want to use the storage space. Look at how beautiful that is with the carbon backed seats that you have. What a stunning cabin, and what a practical car as well. This would be the ultimate dynamic grand touring road trip car. What a thing. So overall, thanks to the use of all of this lightweight materials, it's 38 kilos lighter than the 812 Superfast while having 30 horsepower more. Simple mathematics tells you that this is really and truly going to be a complete beast and a monster to drive. I can only imagine what it would be like to turn it on, to take it for a drive and to enjoy it here at Fiorano. This would be out of this world. There's also a lot of technology going on, and the 812 Competizione introduces four-wheel independent steering. Now, the F12 TDF had brought rear-wheel steering to the F12 and to the Ferrari V12 platforms for the first time. That carried through to the 812 Superfast, but this can technically have all four wheels at slightly different degrees, depending what driving mode you're in, what the car predicts that you're trying to do, whether you're throwing it sideways or going very fast around a racetrack, all of which combines as well with slip-slide control version 7, which to me, with a long wheelbase and 830 horsepower, sounds like a lot of fun. All of that power from the V12 is of course going through the 7-speed dual clutch gearbox, all to the rear wheels, which means you do need to keep your wits about you. It's wearing new Pirelli P0 tyres with the colour stripes to match the livery that is on this car as well. The wheelbase is the same as the 812 Superfast, despite giving slightly different proportions, with this fastback shape with the higher rear arches, and of course with all of the aero work that's going on. It's a lot to take in, a lot to understand, but this is a car built to be an emotional drive, and I can believe that's exactly what it will be. A car that will wake everything up, that will give you a spine-tingling feel. Long live the V12, long live cars like this to be enjoyed. What an incredible thing to behold in person. There's a lot going on, I'm very aware of that, but when you take in all of these different details and you start to understand what's happening here, I didn't quite take in these vortex generators myself until standing here in person and seeing the 3D nature, as opposed to it just being a design detail, let's say, on the rear deck lid, this lip that runs all the way across the back, and that gigantic diffuser sweeping all the way around as well. I think it's an awesome thing, and the Giallo stripes over the Argento paintwork, this is something to behold, and what an opportunity to be here at Fiorano to take a very first look at something as special as this. 999 Competizione, 599 Competizione Aperta, and 1,598 very, very happy customers, I'm sure. This is going to be epic. All that's left is to hear how it sounds, and I hope that will be coming very soon, but I can imagine it's really going to wake the entire neighborhood up. This is hopefully not the end of an era, but we might be getting there. All I can say is it's a really, really awesome thing, and I'm very pleased that it exists. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this first look here at the Pista di Fiorano at the new Ferrari 812 Competizione. What a car. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers!